I went to a session called the Original Gangsters of Crowdfunding. I'm guessing that was their attempt to be witty. But it was a really cool session with 4 different charities that, again, just like the session that I went to before, the thing that I took away the most from this was the fact that these groups talked about failure. They were very raw, they were very honest about the challenges that they've faced as charities, and not just from a funding perspective, not just from a development or a fundraising perspective, but also in just the different marketing approaches that they've taken. So the context, obviously, the Original Gangsters of Crowdfunding, they were talking about things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and some of these charities have tried to start their own crowdsourced crowdfunding campaigns where they get people to create their own campaign online and get their friends to donate, and then the proceeds would then go to that charity. But the real interesting part was they shared specific examples of challenges and failures that they as organizations have been through and learned from, not even necessarily overcome. Like a lot of times at South by Southwest, you'll hear groups that use a challenging situation to talk about a huge victory. This was just raw and honest. We tried this and it failed, and here's what we learned. We're still working it out, and we're moving forward. One of them from Kivia.org, which helps supply people with microloans. They had a big transparency issue where somebody called them out and said, look, you're giving money to these project handlers who then give it to the people that are in need of the microloan to start a business overseas or in a third world country or whatever. But there isn't any accountability there, and people can't follow where their money is going from themselves to the person receiving the loan. There's just too much darkness there. And they got, I think it was a New York Times article written about that. And so all of a sudden, they're scrambling to find a solution and to save their brand.
Yeah.
And because they said, they were very honest about, we lost a lot of donors in that moment, and we took 9 months to revamp that whole transparency situation. It took a lot of work, but we did it, and now we're back on an upward trajectory, and I think they're even beyond where they were before it hit at this point. But it took a long time, and DonorsChoose.org was another group that was represented there, and it was their director of marketing, and they were honest about the fact that 8 out of 10 of their email marketing campaigns fail, and they will come up internally with ideas that they're high-fiving each other over, and they're all ecstatic about, and this is going to be great, and then they send it out, and it flops.
Yeah.
And they have to be okay with it. And this comes back to something you were even talking about yesterday, always be testing. It's not about what sounds good internally, it's about what works in the field.
Yeah.
And so, but again, hearing them say that was just so refreshing, that it's not putting a pretty coat of paint on for the people at South by Southwest. It's, hey, we all struggle with this stuff. As charities and as nonprofits, we're trying to find out what works. And so just stuff like that. They gave a couple more examples, and it was just so refreshing to hear them be that honest.
Yeah.
So a great session.